Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Well, this is a nice chilly Sunday. What we'll talk about today is be kind of general. Kind of the title is The Fool of the World One More Time, you know, Mamala and what's his name? Old Joe. This is a unique time. Now, this time that we're living in, we didn't talk about this period several times. Does anybody have a Kleenex napkin or anything? That's okay. I'll just use one of my gloves. That'll take care of it. No, that's fine. Okay, anyway. Everything is relatively clear. You know, the closer we get to the period we're at now, the more the options close in. You know, in other words, the future begins to look clear. You know, when you way back on the trail, you still got some options to go this way or that way, you know, and still wind up at the same place maybe. But right now the options seem to be, historically the options seem to be closing up a little bit. And what happened last week or so ago, well, not last, it became finalized. He became, whatever it is, they become the president last week. But we've been observing this all along. And it's very curious the way things have unfolded. Now, for us, there's no surprises in all of this, or not any real surprises. If you notice, just the other day, this QAnon stuff almost wrapped up, you know, like, okay, that ain't nothing, okay, we're all a bunch of suckers, okay, just wrap it up and go home. Do you notice how quick they just okay, curtain, you know, they're not gonna even wait for the clapping to stop. They just pull the curtain down, okay, Act 3, next we go to Act 3 or something. And that's one of the faults of the system. If you know the way things happen, they do things, I mean, in a big hurry. Or when they finish up one set, they do it just like going to the movie. You know, when they used to show the little numbers flash on the screen years ago. Yeah. And then, you know, they clap the little thing and then, yep. That's the way this stuff is. This is not like, okay, we're gonna ease into these situations and then we're gonna ease out. Yeah. Them boys jump straight into, and they jump straight out of it, you know. Yeah. This last so-called election period and coming up to the election period, it was really, it was not strange to us, but within a few days, okay, QAnon people, okay, we're going home, we quit, you know, and this section of that, yeah, we're going on about our business. They just roll it up just like they don't graduate in, or sometimes they ease in. Yeah. But when that period is over, it's like clap, and that's it. Everybody goes home.
Yeah, the end of a television show, it just ends.
It's unbelievable. That's the problem, that they've been used to doing things so regularly that they're acting off of what they're seeing in their own life. They see television programs, they start then they wrap it up. You know, if it's an hour-long program, they're gonna spend 40 minutes chasing the bad guys and what have you, and a little confused about what's going on. And then just before you get another 20 minutes left, they're gonna get on the guy's trail. And just before it wraps up, they're gonna bring it all to point. See, watching all of that stuff has formed a subliminal custom. They have now formed, you know, the way they'll say in class now, kids don't have a long attention span. Okay. So that means when I was younger, the television was programmed for 8th grade mentality. Now I think it's programmed for, they say, a 5th grade mentality. In other words, it's going lower and lower, you know. So, and it's not elongating, it's becoming constricted. Where you watch, whatever program you watch, you can figure it out almost. Well, if it's a regular serial program, you already know the bad guys are going to eventually go to jail and lose, you know, if it's an old cop program. And I used to go in the TV room in the federal penitentiary, and I'd tell the brothers, I said, that's harmful for you, watching that, because your team is going to go to jail all the time. You're going to get caught. And then I also told them, I said, you know that 500 questionnaire they had for when you go into federal prisons, they used to have a questionnaire with 500 questions. What's your favorite sport? And you say, baseball. And so they got that all down. Then they ask you the same question in another way, because it's 500 questions. And you see the guys that thinking and answering the questions. And I just went down, I just marked it. I didn't even read them, I just marked it. Then I took them up to the guy, they called me in, and they said, you're either crazy or something or other. I said, I don't care. I said, I'm talking to the psych. So you think I'm gonna write all that stuff down there for you? You must be crazy, you know? And they couldn't do nothing about it. I mean, you know, but everybody was really thinking. And I remember one guy, I'm in Leavenworth. In those days, that was one of the toughest prisons in the federal penitentiaries. They call it, when they sent me from McNeil Island, up in the state of Washington, over to Leavenworth, they say, you're going to the end of the world. Well, in those days, Leavenworth was not like McNeil Island. McNeil Island, you could go up on the bleachers and you could see the water, you know, and water has a calming effect. And then at certain times, it's in Puget Sound, you see the whales migrating, you know, and then all around it is either water or a bridge over there. It was up in Steilacoom, Washington. So McNeil Island, you could sit on the bleachers at the top of the bleachers and you could watch the whales go by. And when you looked out of your cell, you know what I mean, up there, you could see houses, trees, you know, a lot of stuff. But in Leavenworth, you couldn't see none. It was an old-time penitentiary, you know, with walls and all that. And technically it was depressing, because if you used to getting up, sitting on the bleachers and you can see that beautiful scenery, boats going by, you know, it relieves a lot. Plus water has a very soothing and calming effect, you know, on people, just in general. That's why everybody want to live next to the water. Well, it's just like a penitentiary out on the water. So anyway, they give us this test, 500 questions. I say, I'm not going outside, and they ask you what's your favorite sport, and so you say baseball. They said, well, if you wasn't playing baseball or watching baseball, what would you do? Oh, and they thinking about it. Well, I'd be, man, football, I'd do football, or soccer, or I like going to the movies. Anything, whatever you want, that's fine, they just want you to put it down. These guys are putting down they were really thinking about themselves and how they relate to the environment. So one day, one of the white boys, he did a good job, boy. At the shoe shop, he put himself in the middle of the shoes, and the train would come in, and they'd search everything, and then the train would pull the shoes out of So on his thing, he had put, and he broke out of Leavenworth, Federal Penitentiary, Leavenworth. Gun towers everywhere, old dungeon-looking penitentiary, Not these modern. Leavenworth is old. This is the first federal penitentiary I think they had in the U.S. 1909 and all of that stuff, So anyway, this out in the Kansas territory. It was a territory then. So anyway, this guy, he did a brilliant job of breaking out of the penitentiary. In the shoe factory, he worked in the shoe factory. He had his homeboys ease him in the shoe boxes, and they searched everything, and they couldn't find him. So next news we get, he was at his girlfriend's house. Of course, her name was down on the visiting list and everything. And he did all that for nothing. Brilliant. Nobody did that. Ain't nobody broke out of Leavenworth every 40 years or 20 years or something like that. But they don't just jump up and break out of that penitentiary, you know what I mean? So anyway, the point is these questionnaires. How did they find him? The sports he liked, who was on his visiting list. He just went to his girlfriend. A brilliant job like that. He could have went to some relative that was never on any list. Because the first thing they're going to check is the people on your visiting list, this, that, and other. They're just going to call them and drive by, watch the place for a while. What this is it reminded me of brilliance in getting started in something, a project to break out of the U.S. penitentiary in Leavenworth. That's every 30 years, I don't know. I don't know nobody. That's the only time anybody got out while I was there. And I ain't even read about, people getting away from the federal penitentiary. The last time I heard was the one about Alcatraz in '63. When the guys got out of Alcatraz, they closed that penitentiary down. They said, that's it. Yeah, they closed Alcatraz down. Right after that, they said, that's it. And they never found them guys. I believe they might have, I'm pretty sure they got away, because if they was just out in the bay, they'd have washed up on the shore somewhere. Them boys did a good job. Clint Eastwood and them, they got away, I believe. No, they got away. I believe they got away. If they'd have found a body, if they'd have found anything, and that's in a bay, the thing ain't gonna drift out into the ocean and you never find them. You would drift around inside that bay, San Francisco Bay, for some time before your body goes out, before, into the ocean. Anyway, I'm talking about regularities in systems, and how systems recognize things, how they organize things, and how they respond to certain things. we've been on a historical path for quite a while here. And I have to say, we've been pretty accurate. I wouldn't say very accurate, but since I'm doing it, I'm not going to say very, very, very accurate. I'm just going to say very, very accurate. I mean, very accurate. All the stuff we've ever talked about, what they're doing downtown, what they're gonna do with Black Lives Matter, what it means to black people, what it means to everybody else. Who are all those white people down there? Why is the police pulling us over and asking us about all these questions? You know what I mean? Why? You know, and I mean, he done made a special move. He didn't just pop up.
Right.
You know what I mean? He lingered around back there for a while, then zoop, and he's right there.
Yeah.
So you can't run off nothing. You are right there.
Right.
Hey, how you doing? What about this and that? So I say it's fine. We just have a little chit chat. We'll talk, and I want to see what they're thinking about anyway, or what they're going to put out. And what they're putting out about that is that that and those people don't have nothing to do with us, so that all it has exactly something to do with, this is all blended together. Well, they not, why they don't belong in our neighborhood. They downtown, they ain't nobody's neighborhood. I mean, there's a demonstration, they have demonstrations, that's not your neighborhood down there. That's the government's neighborhood. The White House is down there. The government buildings is all down there, right? There's big big markets, clothing stores, and office buildings. I said, K Street ain't but 2-3 blocks away. I said, that's they, they down there. It ain't none of us, like technically downtown. I mean, you can go a few blocks this way or that way, and there's 2 or 3 of us, but generally, that's business. The business of government and the business of business. It's just stores, department stores, and all that stuff down there. A few movie theaters here and there. That's a shopping area. So technically, that's not our area, like downtown, So why is he asking those questions? He's asking the questions because he want to get a fix on where we're at, And he actually want to sell us a few things. So, we believe what's going on right now is to fool the world one more time. Mamala, what's her name? Mamala and Joe. That's them. And, well, what does it all mean? First of all, what does it all mean to us? Technically, it clears the air for a lot of things. But what it does for us is put us right where we've been all along, right on what we're doing and what we're about, and not about what they're about and where they're going. Because if you look at we always say that we're citizens of the world. And our goal is to make the world a better place, or a good place. That's our goal, that's what we've been working on all along. And the last 40 or 50 years, we done ran into a lot of different situations. But our situations that we ran into depend on what we've been working toward all along. Whatever we've been working on, that's determined. When we look at the programs that we were attending, say, we started these trends and these periods, a series of lectures starting in 80 and 81, right after the revolution. And then we went right back to prison you know, for a while. You know, and I might have showed you all that stuff that they're saying this and they're saying that, but in reality, all they're saying is we don't want you to get involved in no masjid. We want you to get a job where we can keep your eye on you. And I ain't never did that. I said I'm going to stay out of prison, and the only way I'm going to stay out of prison is stay involved in this deen. You know, because by then, what I used prison for was a study period. I mean, a lot of the cookbooks I do right now, I got the basis of those. I'm in prison, and I got a lot of Islamic literature, right, and tafsir of Quran and all that while I'm in prison. And I'm learning how to be an imam. I'm studying. I'm the imam in prison. I'm the imam in prison. So when I was out back in the 70s, I was not the imam. I was working with the brothers. But when I'm in prison, I'm the imam. I'm studying because I know when I come out of this prison, I'm not going back to the type of stuff that when I get out of the prison, I go to the Masjid there in Oakland. Instead of getting help from everybody want me to help them get started in Jahiliyyah. And I'm saying, no man, I'm trying to do right. You know, I didn't come to the masjid. I mean, it was hilarious. You know, the imam at that time, it happened. And assistant imam, the assistant imam is still there. He lost all the property. And I told him, I said, look, when I came in, I said, yeah, I'd like to do such and such. And everything I did, they needed to paint the masjid, you know. So at that time, the money was more better. So I just donated. How much y'all need to paint the masjid? $400. It was $500, you know. And everybody, the minister, the deputy ministers, all of them was trying to, you know, get up next to me and get me involved in stuff that I was, you know, had left. And they wanted me in on any level just to help a little. So I'm there with very famous Imam now. And it's one of them lucky